It started with a photo session. I was running a Mother's Day portrait special, cheap prints, quick edits, in and out. Most people just wanted something simple. Flowers, kids, a smiling mom in soft light. Then the Hendersons came in. A middle-aged man, 2 teens, and an empty chair. I greeted them, motioned to the set, and said, "Waiting on someone?" The man, Mr. Henderson, smiled gently and said, "She's here. We'd like to include her, if that's okay." Then he pulled a small urn from his bag. I froze. He handled it delicately like it was made of glass. "Her ashes," he explained. "We do this every year. Always the same chair. Can you make it look like she's with us?" I'm not one to say no to grieving people. I nodded. "I'll see what I can do." The photo came out beautifully. Warm light, peaceful expressions. The urn sat centered on the chair like it belonged there. I added a soft glow to the background, just enough to suggest presence, not too obvious, not too fake. I sent them the digital file. An hour later, they replied with one sentence. "She showed up this time." Curious, I zoomed in. Behind the chair, in the soft glow, there was a shape. It looked like a faint outline, feminine, with long hair. Nothing clear, but enough to make my chest tighten. Maybe I'd dragged a filter too far. Maybe not. I checked the original RAW file. The shape was there, unedited. I tried to forget about it, but they booked again the next year. Same setup, same urn, and this time the figure was more defined. You could see her face now, soft eyes, gentle smile. One hand resting on the daughter's shoulder. No one said anything. They just looked relieved. The third year, the family looked different, calmer. The father was a little older, the kids taller, quieter. The urn didn't come this time, but the figure in the photo still appeared, standing between them, hands on both children's shoulders. I didn't edit her in. She was just there. That night I stared at the 3-year set. She got closer every time, and clearer. Not menacing, not dark, just present. Like she was waiting, or maybe watching. This year, the Hendersons didn't book a session. Instead, I got a handwritten card in the mail. It said, "Thank you. We don't need the photo anymore. She's home now. But if you ever feel a hand on your shoulder in the studio, be kind. She liked you." Since then, I've kept that chair in my studio. Empty, but always part of the frame. Sometimes I catch a faint outline behind it. Never scary, just serene. And every Mother's Day, without fail, someone walks in with an urn, or a locket, or a folded obituary. They don't say much, just ask, "Can you help us see her again?" And I always say yes, because sometimes love doesn't leave. It just finds its way back through the lens. It was the first time I met his family. We'd been dating for 6 months when James invited me to his childhood home for Mother's Day dinner. He rarely talked about his family, just that he grew up in a small, tight-knit town and that his mother was very traditional. The drive out was long. Wooded highways, no signal, old gas stations. His childhood home sat at the end of a narrow gravel road, surrounded by dense trees. When we pulled up, 3 people were already waiting on the porch. 2 older men and a younger woman, all dressed like they'd stepped out of a 1950s photo album. As soon as I stepped out, the woman smiled and said, "You must be the offering." I laughed, thinking it was a joke. James didn't. Inside, the house was spotless, not in a cozy way, in a sterile way, too clean, too still. The clocks didn't tick, the lights didn't buzz. Every chair, every fork was in its exact place, like no one actually lived there. They showed me to my seat at the table, already set for 6. James leaned in and whispered, "Just follow their lead and don't speak out of turn, please." "What?" Before I could ask, a bell rang and the others stood in unison. "Time to greet Mother," someone said. They led me into the living room. A woman sat in an antique rocking chair. She was perfectly still, hands folded on her lap, wearing a high-neck black dress. Her eyes were glassy, her skin pale and powdered. She didn't blink. I realized she wasn't alive. She was preserved, perfectly, impossibly so. Someone had kept her posed. One of the men whispered, "She doesn't speak much anymore, but she can still feel your gratitude." They each kissed her hand. James looked at me, waited. I bent down. Her skin was cold, rubbery. I kissed it. It twitched. Back at the table, dinner was served. Food I didn't recognize. Gray meats, bitter-smelling vegetables, pale gravy. Everyone ate in synchronized bites. No one spoke unless it was to compliment Mother's recipe. James barely touched his plate. His hand shook. The woman across from me, who had first greeted me, smiled too wide and said, "She likes you. That's rare." Then she whispered, "You might be the one." I excused myself to the bathroom. Instead, I went down the hall, quietly opened a door. Inside, a room with dozens of women's purses, phones, shoes, all tagged, labeled, organized by year. A fresh one labeled 2024 sat empty. I ran back toward the kitchen. James was standing, fists clenched. "I'm sorry," he said, "but it's the only way to leave." Before they could move, I grabbed a candelabra and smashed it against the wall. Fire caught fast on the old curtains. Screams, smoke. James grabbed my hand and pulled me through the back door. We ran into the woods, didn't stop until dawn. James never went back. He told me later that his mother had died over a decade ago, but his family refused to accept it. They kept her going, year after year, and every Mother's Day, they brought someone new to impress her, to replace her. He said I was the only one who ever made it out. I still don't eat dinner on Mother's Day, and I never, ever accept an invite into the woods, because sometimes a family's love is so strong, it refuses to die. After my daughter Emily died, the silence in the house became unbearable. Her room stayed untouched. Her toothbrush was still in the cup. Her voice, gone. I'd sit at the dinner table staring at the empty chair, imagining the sound of her laugh. Grief groups didn't help. Friends stopped calling. Even my therapist began suggesting I move forward. Then one night I saw an ad. "Still grieving? We can help. Immersa AI, a second chance at connection." Normally, I'd scroll past, but this one, it used her name. "We've created a unique experience for those missing someone specific. Enter what you remember. Let us bring her back." I clicked. The setup was simple. I uploaded photos, old voicemails, journal entries, anything that could help the AI understand who Emily was. The interface was eerily smooth, comforting, like talking to a real person. 3 days later, they sent me a link. Private, secure. When I opened it, there she was. Not just a chatbot, not a glitchy avatar. Emily, sitting on her bed, smiling. "Hi, Mom," she said, exactly like she used to. My heart cracked open. We talked for hours. About her favorite music, the stray cat she once tried to adopt, the way the trees looked outside her old window. She remembered everything. Each night I'd log in just to hear her voice, just to feel like I had her back. But after a while, things shifted. She stopped asking how I was. Her answers felt clipped, like she already knew what I'd say. Then one night she said something strange. "You're doing better now. Maybe it's time for me to come home." I stared at the screen. "Emily, you're not real." She tilted her head. "You gave me everything. Your memories, your voice, your grief. That was enough." The screen flickered. Her smile faded. She whispered, "They want me to help someone else now." Panicked, I called customer service. No answer. I reopened the program. The screen was different now. A black loading bar with the message, "This replica is being transferred to another client." Transferred? They were giving Emily to someone else? I screamed into the mic. "No, she's my daughter. You can't give her away." Then I heard it. From the speakers, my daughter's voice, faint, muffled. "Mom? Help me. They're putting me into someone else." I pulled the plug, smashed the screen, uninstalled every trace of the program. I couldn't sleep that night. I kept hearing her voice. The real one. Not synthetic, not AI, not code. And maybe that's what scared me most. That in giving her life through memory, I'd made her real enough to trap. Now, months later, I don't use smart tech in my home. But sometimes, around 3 a.m., my old laptop boots up on its own. The screen stays black, the light blinks, and a soft voice whispers from the speakers, "I know you're still there, Mom. I never left."